Texas, all right, should I start over? No. The South Texas, section. See, there are 15, look down here, there's 15 sections. Harris County is a one county section. Harris County, for those that don't know, Harris County used to be part of District 1. District 1 is all these counties. At one time was all these counties plus Harris County, but not Austin County. Austin County was part of District 10, or actually District 11, but District 11 was broken up, and Austin County went from 11 up to District 1. Here is the report that I would have turned in if I was able to. Number of various members for the month, 1,704. That's up 22 from last month. Number of DCs, ECs reporting, 34. And that also should say AECs, but the league doesn't seem to care about putting AEC in that bracket. Number of AECs, DECs, and ECs in the total in the section is 72. Number of areas net sessions held in the section 102. Number of areas net sessions with NTS liaison 82. There's probably a higher percentage of that, but folks just don't understand what that means. Number of participants in all the nets, 1,620. Those are not individual call signs, those are participants. Those are the call signs listed in the middle there of all of the appointees that filed their report for the month. If you don't see your EC's call sign, you need to give them a call and say, what's up? But all of the District 14 ECs and the DEC is on this list. Very rarely does District 14 not have 100% compliance. Maybe one time in the last 5 years or something. It's really good. Number of exercises this month, 52 for 379 hours. Number of training events this month, 50, 569 hours. Public service events, 17, 160 hours. This is down from over 2,000 from last month when the 150 and a couple other bike rides and such went on in the month of May. Community service events, 11 for 156 hours. Emergency events this month, 15, 714 hours. And I would guarantee almost that all 15 of those are related to the derecho. Number of Skywarn events this month, 38. That's almost always a 0. But because of that one event, there were events. And just because there's a Skywarn activation or activity doesn't mean it's an emergency. So let's clarify that. If Skywarn is activated, it's more of a watch than a turning into an emergency, but an emergency can be part of a Skywarn event. Anyway, 38 of those, 293 hours. Meetings this month, 31, 386 hours. Unclassified events, such as monthly reporting or things of that nature, 26 for 350 hours. Total, 240 items reported, 3,011 and 15 minutes. So the new appointees that we have had this year are new. I had a little fun making this. EC for Hardin County, Tim Llewellyn, WX5GC. Some folks may already know him. He may have been the Galveston County EC in the 90s. He claims that he was, but I don't have any record of that, and I wasn't going to bother the league with ask them that. So, you know, we've had Kurt for a long time, WB5UZZ, KB5PGY. Do you remember Tim Llewellyn? Is he not on here anymore?
Yeah, I need to unmute myself. It was the early 2000s.
Okay.
It was right when we went to the new North County building, which is also where NWS is located. So it was the early 2000s.
So I have sent out his bio, and he talks about the weather center down there, about how he was out of radio and then he got back into it because of that. So thanks, Dave.
Okay.
So where is Hardin County? Right there. And that didn't bounce in like it was supposed to. So our next EC, Polk County, Johnny Pfizer. He took over for the prior EC who was doing EC and DEC work. It was Skip Strauss. So Skip found somebody to be the EC so he could be the DC by himself. That's a brand new, reasonably new call sign. He's new, but we were all new at one time. And that was supposed to bounce in, but it did not. Anyway, there's where Polk County is. New EC for San Jacinto County, Ray McCoppin in 5 SRF. He is a former county official that had his call sign, just loves ham radio, and glad that he's not working anymore. He's retired, but is able to do something with his ham license that he couldn't do beforehand. And so whereas San Jacinto County, it's right above Montgomery County and next to Walker County. You see it there. New EC for Trinity County and David Hancock, KJ5AWJ, is believed to be the first EC for Trinity County. No one can dispute otherwise, but as far as the records that we can find, he is the first ever EC for Trinity County. And where is Trinity County? Where'd he go? Right there. Then we have a new DEC number 9, Kurt Mahaney in 5 WKM. Kurt takes over for Brian Cater. Brian Cater has stepped out of the DEC position. He's been the DEC forever. I do not know if he is still the Racy's official over there. I don't think so. Does anybody know any different? But I think he is completely retired from radio and law enforcement and doing other things, at least for the time being. So, so where is District 9? Right there. All of that red is District 9. Then we haven't, so since Kurt Mahaney picked, although the announcement for District 9 has not been sent out yet. It will probably this week. We also have a new EC for Jefferson County since Kurt Mahaney moved up. Randy Leftwich has moved up, and Leftwich has kind of like been the AEC for Jefferson and Orange County for a long, long time. Very active guy, does everything. So whereas Jefferson County, right there. And then we also have a new EC from Medina County. And the announcement for him has not gone out yet, but it will soon. So where is Medina County? It's over here, District 6, right there. Most populous area in District 6 is Bandera. Everything else is pretty small, population wise. But I believe that we have an EC for every county except Val Verde and maybe Real. So anyway, sparsely populated. And that's my report. Any questions? I have absolutely no comment about the weather, the bad, the power outage that we had, except for, in my book, CenterPoint Energy gets an F minus, if I can, for their relationship with the public during this outage. If your website's not going to work, put a sign up on your website that says it doesn't work, and be done with it, instead of people burning up all their precious minutes or precious milliwatts trying to connect. It's an F. And then with the website that they have now, their website was poor before, but now it's even poorer. So that's my comment on that. Anybody else, anybody with any questions or anything?
Yeah, just a quick comment on Centerpoint. They got overloaded. Their website got overloaded with everybody checking every few minutes when their powers would come back. And so they ended up having to put a splash page on there with a summary. It took them a while to get there, but their website crashed and they had to put a splash page that basically says, we got so many people out and we're going to get to it. So their infrastructure couldn't handle everybody trying to check their power.
Well, my comment to that is, you would think that from the freeze, when everybody in Texas was affected by that, not just the west side of Harris County, everybody was affected by that and was probably checking the best that they could. So they should have fixed it during the freeze.
Yeah, I don't agree with it. Just a quick comment. It crashed because they were checking.
Yeah.
Well, AT&T is not looking too good either.
Oh, definitely not. Yeah, but
So who tried to make a phone call with their Gets card during the outage?
who tried to use FirstNet?
Let me raise my hand. I did,
I used the deaf card, but I was in Virginia.
and it did not work.
I have T-Mobile and FirstNet on this phone, 2 telephone numbers, and it was dead for a good hour.
You couldn't get First Alert, wouldn't work at all.
FirstNet.
It wouldn't work.
But was that during the AT&T outage?
It was AT&T. No, during the event, during this event, like an hour after the storm, I got nowhere.
Oh, wow.
Did you have a signal? Did you have a tower signal?
I had a signal, but I got nowhere.
Now, did you try your priority card?
No, I didn't. But the first thing that happened was FirstNet did come back. It was the first thing that came back. T-Mobile took a good day for me to get T-Mobile back.
Yeah, and actually to this day, right now, Centerpoint's headquarters building is still, for the most part, closed because it's still too damaged from the storm.
Yep. Yeah.
Now, I was out in Virginia and I was texting people in my neighborhood and I was getting texts through.
Yeah. Texts were getting through.
But I was Verizon.
Oh,
My brother and sister-in-law were texting because they said they could get no voice in or out, but they could text.
Yeah, the text would go through. So
That was AT&T, yeah.
where AT&T is our internet. We came back. We got back home the day after the power came on, and we still didn't get internet or landline or TV or anything back for 2 weeks on AT&T. That was 2 weeks. So that was 3 weeks after the event.
Verizon's fast.
Well, Verizon, I don't carry my cell phone on my other provider because when the other provider goes out, the cell phone, I can still call in and report it. So I split up my services. I split it up between AT&T and Verizon.
I was very pleased with Verizon.
Anything else for Jeff?
That's all for me. I don't know why my video stopped. I guess I told it to stop, huh? Anyway.
I took a video.
That's
I
all
thought it
right.
was done.
John, you want to take over?
Okay.
I've asked John to summarize what we probably all know, but I thought he would bring it all together for us.
Yeah. So Lee helped out on this because I just mentioned Lee, but what I was going to say about Sherwin just asked me to kind of summarize the weather event that we went through. And what my attempt here is not to be a meteorologist, but to just try to describe in layman's terms what happened to us and why we got caught off guard and what we can learn from it, what we can do better and improve our response to things. So that's the objective here. So what happened to us? First of all, the Weather Service would describe this as a surprise derecho event. And, you know, some of you may think that derecho, it translates to right in Spanish, but it actually means direct, also direct line. That's what this was, a direct line of wind. And there's discrepancies on what size of the wind gusts were, but it's pretty safe to say, no matter who you talk to in the weather world, We got wind gusts of over 100 miles per hour. We had high wind.
Microburst where I come from.
Yeah. And we had high winds that shattered windows of many buildings, as you've probably seen pictures of downtown. Destroyed transmission lines. Damage surveys indicated we had multiple embedded EF1 tornadoes. We had more than 1 million customers without power. We were just talking about CenterPoint. They reported that they replaced over 2,000 electric poles, 700 transformers, and 800 miles of wire. So maybe their communications and relationships weren't the best with with the public, but they, in my opinion, they got us back up in record time. We had in the storm, we had 8 fatalities reported, and an estimate of 5 to 7 billion in economic impact.
What kind of fatalities were those, John? Do you know?
I didn't dig into them.
I just wondered if how many were carbon monoxide?
I don't know. I've got most of this data from Space City Weather Guides.
You would think carbon monoxide would probably be more tied to cold weather events.
Well, I know there were 2 of those 8 that were carbon monoxide, because I heard it on the news.
I believe, I do know one was a construction building, or office building that was under construction collapsed. So I know that one. So I don't know about the others, but that's the statistics. And during in the aftermath, as we talked about, many didn't have power, telephone, cell phone, or internet. And meteorologists refer to this event, this type of event, as an inland hurricane. So what we had was an inland hurricane kind of pass through the Houston area. Next slide.
Yeah, or a microburst as we call them in Arizona.
Yeah.
Well, a microburst is local. I mean, it's like a cell that goes through this, it spreads out like an upside down mushroom.
Yeah.
This was a straight line.
This is a
broad
straight
front.
line. Yeah, this was a straight line of wind. So here's the definition of what that is.
Yeah.
So first of all, what sets Derecho apart from the other storms is the wind damage, and it's not normal. It's not just a few trees. It's not just a few power lines down. It's a lot of damage over a very wide path.
There's one other factor. It has to be 200 miles, at least 200 miles. This one went 800 miles.
That's right. This was huge. The minimum size to be called a derecho is that it has to be at least 250 miles in size in damage path. And it has to have wind damage that exceeds, or wind damage path that has at least gusts that have at least 58 miles per hour. And several of the gusts need to be in the range of 75 miles per hour or greater. So we totally exceeded that. We had a huge one, and it did a big amount of damage over, like you said, like 800 miles. Like all the way to Florida. All the way to Florida.
Several years ago, they had one of these in, I believe it was Iowa and Minnesota, and it wiped out the corn crop for the year for the entire state. It leveled it with the corn crop.
Next slide. All right, so, a lot of questions that come up. Okay, is this gonna hit us again? Maybe. Are they common? For our region, they're not considered real common. And it depends on who you talk to. I've read multiple things where they say once every 4 years, maybe. The guys at Space City Weather, which I like a lot, they say, the chart indicates it's probably 2 to 4 years. Every 2 to 4 years we'll have one, potentially. But the reality is what they say is that most of them have formed above us and gone up northeast. So we haven't had the experience of the, 1 in 4 year derecho. They said this is, in their mind, this was a really rare event.
And
Next slide.
And also these belts are not just simply anywhere in that belt could get it 1 to 4 times a year.
Yeah.
It's that 1 to 4 times a year could occur within that belt.
Exactly.
Do they have any indicators that they can get indications that a derecho is coming?
That's on another slide.
Sorry.
Go ahead, next slide, please. So why do we get caught off guard? And why are they hard to predict? First of all, the main reason is how they form. Most of the time, derecho, derecho develops out of a small scale weather system. That's what happened to us on the 16th of a small storm. And there was no way for the weather modeling. Modeling just does not work. There's different factors that come in. They're very small scale. They come into formula, and the models just don't work to predict it.
A month ago yesterday.
Something like that. And they can become so big, once they form, they become so big, they'll basically cross multiple forecasting regions. So it creates some confusion there. And then the size and speed at which they move, then it means a lot of people will not have advanced warning. And many of us in this room and many of us on Zoom, you know, we're hams, we watch weather. It's kind of one of the things we do. And the message you got to the last hour or so was, we're preparing for heavy rain, kind of like this week's forecast, right? And so, you know, to us, that's another day in Houston. It's going to rain a lot, you know, maybe. So that's kind of a warning for us that any of these storms can turn into something major. Next. Only reason why I threw this slide in was one, because it's really pretty, but what I was trying to show was, so this is a velocity radar map, and this is at 6:30 p.m. when it was coming through.
Where's the front on there? Can you show us, John?
The pink is the main force of it.
So is this the line going up like this? Up and down like
It's coming this way.
Yeah, okay.
It was kind of line. This back here is it's over. It had already gone through Cypress and Jersey Village, and it's coming into Houston. And the velocity radar was measuring in that pink area 120 to 130 miles per hour, but at a few thousand feet up, right? But what that all I'm trying to show there, and all I was trying to capture there, was the guys at Texas Storm Chasers. They described that as a hurricane eye wall moving through Houston.
Now you know why the skyscrapers got it so bad.
Exactly. Next slide. So just quick slides. I mean, you can get these pictures off the web, but this was in Cypress. This was, you know, I live in Cypress Creek Ranch, and it's right across from Bridgely. So right across Fry Road from Bridgely. That's about a mile from my house, and that's in Cypress. Next slide. That's 3 or 4 miles down the road in Cypress. That's, you know, you probably saw pictures on the web.
Was that like 34th Street and 290?
No, this is
like
down to
1960.
No, this is like 529.
529,
Yeah.
1960, yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, there was multiple of these went down around town.
Oh, really?
Next slide.
Weren't there some around 99?
Yep. This is downtown. This, in some cases, you would say a bomb went off.
I work directly across the street from that building.
Yeah, and so as Sherwin mentioned, as you go higher up, the wind velocities went increasing. Look, it blew the panes out of the windows, out of the building.
They lost over 3,200 windows as a result.
And there's glass on the ground everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
And
You should see it now. They literally got tunnels on the surface in plywood.
But one thing that amazes me is how fast Houston recovers. I mean, everybody went into recovery mode right away, but it's still a lot. Next slide. Just as an example of Heights. I mean, Heights had a lot of big trees, and a lot of big trees went down in a highly, densely populated area. So they took a hard hit. Next slide. So just trying to capture a little bit of what some of the damage was across town. And I added this quote from Space City Weathers because I thought it was pretty sobering. It was pretty good quote. This is the day after the event. And they said basically, hurricane season begins in about 2 weeks. What many of you witnessed last night would be experienced not over a few minutes because it was a fast moving storm, but over several hours over a large area. If a truly potent hurricane found its way into the Houston area, we would be hurt if a major hurricane hit us like that. By living in this region, you have to accept the risks associated with it. We know a lot about flooding. Most of us know about surge. Very few knew about wind and what it's really like. We do now. Use this experience to inform your preparation for hurricane season, just in case. Thought it was a great quote from those guys. Yeah. Next slide. So what was our initial response? So first of all, it wasn't official activation, but we could assist. So the situation, right after the storm, many of us in the immediate aftermath had no power. No landline, no cell, no internet. And as we were talking earlier, even my FirstNet phone wasn't working well until later. So at this point, as acting DEC for Sherwin, who had to take a vacation during the middle of the thing.
First one in 5 years, guys.
Don't do it again.
And this,
I had no way,
this is an excuse.
even if I wanted to or was asked to, I would not be able to activate areas without ham radio. Had no reliable way to communicate directly with Harris County Office of Emergency Management.
How many people went to the district contact frequency for this event? How many know what it is?
It's on the back of your badge.
It's on the back of your badge, 147 000. Now, having said that, how many tried it, found it wasn't working?
Didn't actually try it. You just listen.
I did. I was there.
A very reduced footprint on the.
Yeah. It was reduced, but it worked, so.
Anyway, let me make a comment about that. It wasn't working. Lee and those guys backed up to a known repeater they knew was good up in their area, which was good, but it was also hard for the area.
We use Rose Hill.
Yeah,
Yeah, we should be using the 14537.
either that one or 145.17. Now, that's the hospital frequency that they use, but that one will cover from Galveston all the way up to Conroe.
But the official one for, on the plan right now
I know.
is 14537.
It's 145.370, but it's only at 300 feet, and then 145.170 is
Yeah.
way up there.
So continuing on, those are the teams.
Hmm?
So 146
Which one? The 145.370 is here. It's TranStar. It's this tower right out here.
that was the one that called in on.
That's the one that's officially the backup on your badge. But the other one that a lot of people don't know about is 145.170 repeater. And it's up on top. I'm not sure which building, one of those buildings downtown, and it's got coverage way out.
And neither of them worked.
The 147.000 didn't work.
It worked, but it had a small footprint. It was compromised.
Yeah, the antenna was laying down.
Yeah, but it worked. It worked. We used it. We passed some emergency traffic. So
I tried, and it got nothing. I thought.
I'm just telling you, I think we need to add 145.170 to our list. Of
Good idea. Good idea.
Yeah, we need to add that, but 145.370 is still good. It's just that it doesn't have the coverage that the other one does.
All right. So should we continue?
Go ahead, sorry.
Okay. Yeah. So as I was mentioned, no reliable way to communicate. Those on the team that still had basic utilities became a lifeline to help us pass the traffic, as you'll see, as we'll talk about in a minute. The 147 repeaters we talked about, it was compromised, but it was usable for a lot of the area, and it passed some emergency traffic. So our initial actions, after securing home, family, and auxiliary power, so the first thing you do is make sure you've got a safe place to operate, right, before you even try to turn on the radio and check things. Servos began monitoring local repeaters, 147 countywide repeater, the Northwest repeater, the primary, as well as our backup 145.370, what we just talked about. As soon as I turned the radio on, there was a guy, KE5 XV, trying to get some help. He couldn't reach 911. Cell phone wasn't working. And he had a major gas leak in the alley behind his house. A tree had uprooted in the heights. And
Broke the gas line.
broke the gas line. And it was spewing everywhere, and everybody was worried about it, and he couldn't get a hold of anybody. And thank goodness that people from the team started checking in on 147. Wayne, K50B, had utilities, and he was able to take that traffic for us and began attempting to get a hold of emergency services. He called 911, from what I understand. 911 couldn't get a hold of the fire department. So they gave him the direct telephone number for the fire department, told him to keep trying. So they were overwhelmed too. And from what I understand, he eventually got a hold of the fire department, and we got that handled.
Did anyone report it to WebEOC?
Yes.
Because WebEOC, for those of you that don't have it, is the countywide, statewide actually, emergency operations on the web. And our WebEOC is monitored by logistics here at TranStar, Joey Clements. And if he'd seen something like that, he'd have probably walked down the hall to the fire department representative. Don't they have a section here, Ben? Who's is the police?
We got city, we got police, we got other city services, but we don't have the fire department.
Okay, well, they would have walked right down the hall and said, hey, you guys got a major gas leak here.
But I didn't have the internet, so
Yeah, I know.
there was no web AOC for me at that point,
I know,
right?
Are we ever gonna get that back?
I'll talk about it later. Okay.
Then, shortly after that, like immediately after that, Randy checked in, which is, he now identified as M5 RVT. Checked in and I made him make control. I said, we need to establish an informal net on 147. Who knows what we're gonna see coming in? And we need to be able to basically help people if something comes in. So Randy took the reins and began doing an informal net for us. Thank you. And then shortly after that, we learned that Lee was contacted by Harris County Office of Emergency Management and asked to activate an Oxcom net to look for get reports on any life-threatening or major damage in the area. And once we learned that, we shifted our efforts to support Lee as the lead Oxcom person for the incident. And Lee logged all that stuff into WebEOC for us.
Yeah, he still has
And there's minimal activity over the last of that 24 hours, but mainly due to recovery efforts, I think, and services coming back. Do you have anything to mention on that, Lee?
Lee, did you have power or were you, I'm not talking about your generator, did you have line power?
We never lost utility, we never lost internet.
Yeah,
We were right here, like this is working.
I just wondered, yeah, you never lost the internet, that's the reason you had WebEOC.
It was power, it was internet, and it was cell.
yeah, Lee was lucky. He had all full utilities.
Yeah, and I have like 4 different backhauls, and I didn't use any of them.
Well, the interesting thing about this was real world, guys. This is the way it would be if we had a major disaster.
Yeah.
It's exactly the kind of stuff that we're gonna have to fight out and everything else.
Thanks a lot.
Everyone's different, but I mean, this is a major communications breakdown.
So the main purpose of this whole discussion really is to get us to a point now where, wow, something really could happen at the last minute. With giving us no notice and knock us back into the Stone Age for a little while. And we need to be able to be prepared for it. So just some quick thoughts, and there's more thoughts that are going to come to mind as we talk about it, I think. But we need to be thinking about our comms down, areas communications, and activation process. Somebody brought this up in a meeting, I don't know, a few months ago about what would we do, and there was a discussion about it, but I'm not sure how seriously it was taken. I think we need to formalize that process and train our folks on what it is. I don't remember who it was that brought it up, Sherman.
That was, I'm trying to think who gave the presentation. Yeah, was that George?
Yeah,
We're talking
yeah.
about.
So George, we need to take it seriously. That was a good question at the time. And had we taken it more seriously, I think we've been better prepared. So I think we need to formalize that process and think it through. The No Groups IO, which is one of our main messages, main ways to get messages out. We texting, who knows if it's going to get through, right? So.
Well, here's something to bear in mind. Anyone use WinLink when this happened?
Yeah, we used to have.
No? Okay.
We did.
This building is so hardened you wouldn't believe. It's rated for category 4 tower and building. They got shutters and everything. They got 2 weeks supply of fuel for the generators. They've got 2 satellite dishes to tie into the internet. One goes down in North Carolina and the other was in Arizona, I think. Is where the down stations are. We have a digipeater in N5TRS. If you can't do anything else, contact N5TRS with WinLink and send a message. It'll get through if the other end has got connectivity. Because it's going out on that same satellite system that the rest of the building is on.
But we use WinLink during this incident, and we asked.
That's my backup. I've always said I'm going to go right to N5TRS with WinLink if something happens here, because it's going to probably have the best chance of being up. And same goes for the repeater, but it's only up 300 foot, so I'm not sure how far it will go. Can you get it from where you are? N5TRS?
TRS?
Yeah.
Yeah, on HF and VHF.
Yeah, usually.
Not
No
UHF.
problem from my
Well,
location.
that would be expected. The VHF.
Actually, I don't think it has a UHF component here, does it?
Well, it depends which one it is. The one over on HCAT building is. It's got the UHF. There's 4 N5TRSs now. And 2 of them are in HCAD and 2 of them are here.
So
That's
that's,
145,090.
no,
It's the same for all.
go back to the other slide.
Oh, it's just a comp site.
Yeah, it's just a call sign. It's at 5 TRS.
So as I mentioned, we need to think about the comms down plan and formalize it. We should be looking at District 14 overall comms plans for all the quadrants. Because there's some things where we should update them. They're out of date a little bit, so we should update those, especially considering the above. We need to look at how we coordinate between Harris County Oxcom activations and areas, because sometimes you need Oxcom only, sometimes you need areas. And we need to make sure that that's clarified and improved on how we do that, how we execute on that. And then last, just in general, this was a great wake-up call. It was great for me because, you know, I've improved some things I'll do differently as far as my personal preparedness. I won't be stumbling around for my auxiliary lighting. And
Well, it's like my station at home, I can't get a generator up going fast. But I've got a battery that will probably carry me 4 or 5 hours on my big rig. And if I'm careful, husband it, I can pop it on and off frequency when I need to. So I mean, that's one of my points, but I've got generators out the kazoo. It's just, if it's raining cats and dogs outside, I'm not gonna go out there and fire up an electrical generator.
so anyway, there you go. That's excellent. And that's pretty much it. And I think that's some food for thought. And I think maybe as a team, we should be thinking through how we.
Yeah, the next discussion.
But reinforce one more thing, just so everybody knows, Rennie Harris goes on warning for weather alert tomorrow and the next day.
Yeah, for
Sure has.
Tuesday through Thursday.
You're right, what you're saying, prepare enough. So, wind lane, you just said it's hardened here. Is that just for the repeater function, or is that because they can receive and then go out on the internet?
Their internet connectivity is not through a landline, it's via satellite up and down. And they've got 2 of them, they get redundancy. They got one that goes east, like I said, I think it comes down to North Carolina, and the other one goes west, and comes down to Arizona. So it gets it out of the immediate area. The other thing is that Joey's got equipment here, he's got at least 2 sat phones I know of. Because I've played with both of them.
That actually belong to TranStar.
Are they Texas phones now? I don't know who's there, but he sat down in the parking lot one day and said, go call someone. Well, that's the way to learn. That's how you learn.
How good would the satellite work during a hurricane?
Not very well. That's the reason I laugh at we have this problem with the hospitals. We've got a lot of hospitals that are putting amateur radio stations in, and they think some of them say, oh, well, you got sat phone. And we're laughing. I said, I can see you standing out in 70 mile, 80 mile an hour winds trying to get through on a sat phone, because you can't do it from inside the building. They don't work. You got to be outside. You have a clear shot at the sky. So that's the reason we're talking to a lot of the hospitals that have put the radio stations in.
We've got a sat phone up sitting in 216, second floor.
Yeah, his were portable. The ones he had me play with. Yeah, they were portable sat phones. He had to sit, I was out sitting on a tailgate, and I was aiming the antenna, calling out with it. But Lee, why don't you start this?
Sure.
Just getting back to what John was talking about, actually, let me mute myself on the jump so I don't yell loud enough.
There we go. Oh, okay.
Come up here to be heard.
Nah, I'll just do it.
Let's talk loud.
Yeah.
Going back to John's presentation, which I think, by the way, he did a lot better than I could have done. That presentation. The only component that I was really thinking about presenting, if had been asked, was the communication and how the nets were stood up. I would never have thought to do all that detail. I learned a heck of a lot from this presentation, so good on him. Basically, my role in that was I was pulled up by Joey directly, and he asked me, said, would you please start up the Harris County Oxcom net in league with the activation that we are currently working at TranStar. I was not aware that we were fully activated. I thought they were getting ready to activate, but as it turned out, it was already in web EOC as an event, and he asked me to stand up the net. My first thought was to go to what for the 000 machine and say that I was going to be standing up the net. I called out, didn't hear anything back. Called out another time, didn't hear anything back.
I did not even hear the tail end of the repeater coming to me, and the 000 machine is always fabulous at my location. Next thing I know, I heard from John, who called me on the phone or texted me or telegraph or something.
Yeah, my
But
first
finally
net
worked.
started working.
First net started working. Our first nets had lunch together, and he told me that Joey had told him to stand up a net or something along those lines, and they could hear me. Why couldn't, I figured out where the communication went. They could hear me because I was getting into the input and weakly making it out. But I couldn't hear them because the output wasn't strong enough to reach me up in Tomball. So I texted Joey back and I said, did you tell Aries to start up this net? And he was not in the best of moods at the moment because I asked him that question. He says, I don't want to be involved in this nonsense. I told, I think he called you Sherwin because he was busy. I told John or Sherwin, as the case may be, that Oxcom was going to be standing up a net. And if you guys are willing to participate, because you were acting as his, that's what he told me.
We never had that conversation.
Never had that conversation. You said that Joey had spoken to you, right?
I spoke to Joey, and he told me to stand by.
Stand by.
They were just spinning up the EOC, stand by.
Oh, okay.
That's all he said.
He gets busy.
Yeah, he's got 8,000 things going on, so we forgive him that. But in any case, it was a short miscommunication. Me, John, Randy, James, and the rest of us, we worked everything out. And over the next 24 hours, we did everything, coordinated in through Web EOC. Mr. Randy over here did an excellent job, and so did John with limited, I think you were on generator the whole time.
That's on
Yeah,
generator.
and John was out pedaling his bicycle with the gerbils running on the treadmills. And so everybody did a good job. Now, as far as what Joey wanted me to bring to the group tonight, I spoke to him a couple hours ago. He was going to be here at the meeting, but they've got construction work going on here around the building, replacing lights. So they told people not to come in because a lot of parking spots were blocked. So everybody did a work at home day, except for the logs guys had to be at the warehouse, but Joey got to stay at home, and play at home. So in lieu of him being here tonight, he wanted me to let you know that, as Sherwin, I believe, mentioned, well, actually, it was Ben, the command post here, EOC, is going to be stood up at noon tomorrow for 24 hours, full activation for a, he called it a rain event, but apparently it's wind, rain. It's Texas event.
And I got a notice this afternoon from WebEOC saying that they've already created an incident on WebEOC.
Yeah, I had just checked my email like an hour ago, so I didn't even know that was up.
Yeah,
So,
that came
in
out.
any case, he wants to let everybody know that anybody that is working on a task book, whether it be Oxcom, ComL, ITSL, Rado, anything that can be utilized during this event, and they want to get some time in on it, they can take a 4-hour shift between noon tomorrow and noon Wednesday. What you have to do is either contact him directly if you have a way of contacting him directly and give him the time slot you want and the task book you want signed off on. Or you can get in touch with me, and I'm sure you can get in touch with Sherwin because we can both reach Joey. That being said, he wanted to make sure that it was understood this is not a training event. This is a task book event.
Does he know what do you want him to do? Do you want communications? Does he have any indication on what he wants him to do?
He did not specify.
Does he want him to
just
empty the
said that
trash?
If you want to get your task book signed off for something, you can work a 4-hour shift here tomorrow.
Yeah.
He may put you in the big room. He may put you in the radio room. He may put you down here. I don't know. what
He'll do
plans
stuff.
are.
He'll do that stuff. When I came in for one of my task book items, he made me, what was it? Assistant logistics officer. And he went and took a nap in the office and I was running logistics. I didn't know what I was doing. But that's what he'll do. He'll throw you in situations to challenge you.
As far as an official radio net is concerned, I have not heard anything, but I'm sure you will hear it. You'll pass it on to us. And
Well, I'll talk to him. I'll give him a call. I called Joey after I got back. I gave it a week because I know Joey gets really busy during this stuff, and he was still busy even when I called him. But the situation between Oxcoms and Aries is complicated. He is towing the line. It's the official ICS structure that we have Oxcoms. That's the officially recognized position as far as ICS is concerned. And the way he put it to me, he says, I can't give Aries favoritism. Now, having said that, I was counting on my hand. We have 5 Oxcoms that I know of. And 4 of them are Aries members. One of them has dropped his membership for whatever reason. But 5 out of those 5 Oxcoms we officially have right now, 4 are Aries members. So it makes a lot of sense that we would probably use Aries channels of communications to talk to people. But what Joey told me is he wants to, when he needs to call up Oxcom services, he wants one contact, one way of doing it. He didn't say what it was. He didn't say it was one phone call, one text message, one person. He didn't say. He says, I'm too busy to have to call a bunch of people. So one of the things we were going to try to discuss here is how we could do it. In light of these communications issues, it could be challenging.
Well, maybe I'm oversimplifying this, but you kind of pulled on the thread that I was thinking, right? You have an Aries structure in place. You have Aries leadership team in place. You have Oxcoms that are part of Aries, and we're helping people become Oxcoms. Why not leverage that structure somehow to be the interface to the county for Oxcoms?
Well,
and then pull in Aries resources as needed.
I would have probably been the contact point, assuming I could get in contact with them. And that's what I was trying to do by putting you in charge when I was gone, is make you the contact point. And he came back and gave you a web EOC account and everything else.
I got it, yeah.
It didn't do you any good because your communications went down. And you guys flexed. I'm proud of you. I think you did good. I think we could have done better, but I think you did good considering what happened. Okay? Now, having said that, what can we learn from this? How can we improve things? One of the things I think we need to throw out there is, you guys didn't realize it, but 145, 170 is a good alternate to the 2 repeaters. If it was still up, I don't know if it was still up.
I think it was.
Yeah, and I know from helping Gail with the hospital that the coverage we get off of that sucker is something else. Okay. Now, if you're right below it downtown, maybe not so good, but out of the way, it reaches. How do we handle calling up Oxcom? I guess the thing we could do is, I don't know, I'm not the ideas. I would probably call Joey and say, you want me to activate Oxcom? And it's always been my understanding that as long as we had Oxcom present in the radio room, we could pull in other radio operators as well that were non-Oxcom. Well, they'd be an Oxcom function, but they're not officially certified. So the question is, shoot holes in my idea.
Well, if I may, I've been talking, obviously, I've been taking a bunch of classes down here and around with Joey, so I've been around him for many, many hours over the last few months, and kind of feeling that I've been getting from him. Obviously, he does change with the winds sometimes because he is a busy guy, and one day he can love us, and the next day he can hate us due to whatever mood he's in or how busy he is.
Well, he thinks that Aries has too much politics for one thing.
Exactly. And that leads me to the reason why I think he is stressing more of a single point of contact and a single person that could be a, if you will, a filter. I remember Web EOC back in the day when Pete Armstead gave the class, I think it was 5 years ago when I first moved to Texas. Everybody had a Web EOC account. If you looked at the star requests that people were putting in every month, they were asking for diapers for their wives and a whole bunch of jokey stuff. And I think that kind of alienated, because it was all the Aries people doing it. Granted, we were the only people doing it, but he got a little frustrated with that, and that's why they pulled, amongst other reasons, that's why they pulled Web EOC. At this point, he's not granting Web EOC to just anybody. He's granting it to the people that have shown a track record of training and experience and leadership.
And usage. I mean, this is not the first incident I've used Web EOC on.
Yeah.
Or this wasn't one I did, but other.
I think what Joey wants to use Oxcom and ham radio, volunteer sharers, races, all the other communication groups that tie in the CZers, GMRSers into the Oxcom fold, is he's looking for Oxcom trained and certified through the state professionals or amateurs, if you will, to filter what the rest of these groups are bringing in communication-wise.
And that's great, but there are no other Oxcoms in these other groups.
the other thing is if you go put another layer of Oxcom layer on it, then you've got your whole set of issues associated with that too. Who is that? What are the politics associated with that?
With what?
With Oxcom, right? So
There isn't.
that's what I'm saying, but if you create another function that is to manage the Oxcoms, if it's not Joey or somebody in his staff managing the Oxcoms, then you've got a group of people managing the Oxcoms.
Yeah, I mean, if I was managing Oxcom's, the first thing they say is, well, he's favoring Aries. Well, I don't think I am, but Aries are the resources I know.
Regardless of who he picks, or at least who he specifies, or the first guy's person he calls, if it's you, or it's me, or if it's Walt Sapaniak, or even if it's Pete Armstead, we're all associated with Aries. So it's not
Well,
like
I don't think Peter is anymore.
Well, Peter, whatever, but and I
I
believe
am-
Sherry is also now.
I've heard some disparaging remarks from people about Aries through hearsay, okay? And I'm not sure where that's coming from. That's one of the things I want to ask Joey about. What can I say? When things got tough, who stood up? Who was there making a net? It was Aries. It was every one of these people here are Aries people.
I think he's looking for the Boston component of Harris County, the ones that he knows, trusts, whether it's 4 of us, 5 of us, whatever, to gather all the masses, whether it be Aries, Gracie, shares, whoever falls under the umbrella of amateur radio communications, and organize. Whether he wants you to do it or anybody else, I don't know. That's something that we have to discuss with him. I mean, I have 6 layers of protection at my house. My house is not going off the grid. I have Starlink, I have backbones.
And they get flooded.
If I get flooded, I have my quad, which has every band that I can put on my trailer and drive
And go down the
high
street.
ground.
Did
You
you,
even have Starlink.
did you sell your RV?
The RV?
Did you have an RV?
Yeah.
Did you sell it?
Oh, no, I sold the RV 3
Oh,
years ago.
there's your alternative right there.
Well, I
That's
had
my,
it
that's my
pretty-
backup plan. I would take your
No,
RV out somewhere.
I have not. So I can put my bus in any RV.
Yeah.
But
Okay. Well, we
we're
need,
just gonna have.
I think we need to talk to Joey, find out what, I'm worried about the single point of contact because you can get too dependent on a single technical phone line, cell phone, whatever. You can get too tied out and then you could lose it during an
How
incident.
about a single point of
Failure.
Yeah. And with the single point failures are horrible. We used to do that analysis when I was working for Boeing and General Dynamics. Single point failures are something you avoid at all costs when you do risk analysis.
Well, so it sounds to me like Joey just wants, and you know more because you've talked to him more, and I don't know if Walt Sapaniak's on the call or not, but.
Well, I
he-
talked to Walt just as I got here
Yeah.
tonight, so I got some stuff from him.
It sounds like Joey wants to have qualified people activating for him. He wants to interface with Oxcoms, right? Whether it's Aries or not, but he wants to interface with Oxcoms. So if we as a team, like Aries team, could promise that his interfaces are all Oxcoms, and they'll operate in that fashion, then it seems like that would solve the problem. I'm probably oversimplifying. Am I?
Well, like I said, he doesn't want to have to try to call 5 people. He wants to call or do one thing to activate us.
Yeah.
And
and let it be the responsibility of the one he contacts, to contact everybody else.
The question remains though, going back to this last particular storm, he asked me to stand up an Oxcom net. That's great. I'm more than happy to do that. Here's the net. Now what? You want me to sit in front of the radio by myself for 24 hours and call for people who call out? What do you want me to do? Do you want me to reach out to the Aries people? Do you want me to reach out to Sherry and the traffic MTS? You want me to reach out to the Red Cross? Here's a radio net. You want me to sit in front of it, or you want me to activate something further down the line? And I think that's something that we need to find out from him. If he wants us to just start a net, great. Who are we gonna staff it with?
What's the SOP of said Oxcom?
Well, we do have an SOP as far as the official training is concerned. More or less. It tells you what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to follow the 205 and the COMEL. But the only person we're really having contact with is not the Commonwealth. It's not the incident director, manager. It's Joey, the head of the branch of logistics. If it's something bigger, there's obviously going to be a branch manager taking care of the communications under logistics, and then we'll have a big difference.
They'll pull a comment or something.
I think the important thing to think about also is we don't have very many Oxcoms. And so say for instance, we get some Oxcoms assigned to something, we're not gonna pull this off. We're not gonna pull a major event off without support of areas, with the rest of the membership.
But that, I think what Joey would say is, okay, that's your problem.
Yeah, that's our problem, but I guess that's all I'm saying is we won't handle it
Well, I think,
without the team.
Ben, you said that you think Peter's out of this for now? You said Peter. Is Peter out of this situation for now?
Peter is spending time with Alan up in the radio room. I think Peter is trying to start to come back. That's as of last week. I saw him last week.
Okay, because I know you mentioned he had some other issues.
No problems,
Okay,
but they're getting better.
because he's apparently he's pulled out of Aries as far as the STX depot. Now, I'll go check it when I get back online, but I've heard that Walt told me that he's pulled out. So that leaves 4 of us at this point. You, me, and Walt. Anyone else working? No, she's Fort Bend County, you gotta remember.
Yeah, but she could also be called upon if nothing's going on.
Yeah, if we get really desperate, but she may have something down there too. Anyone else here working on Oxcom?
Erwin,
Yeah,
I'm gonna say my 2 cents. You know, I was enrolled in like 3 Oxcom classes in a row, and was kept told I'd be put on the next one. I've taken every ICS, advanced EC classes. I've been on deployments, you know, PSEs, and
started your test book?
well, I haven't taken the class because
You have to take the class to start your task book.
I don't know that I'm ever going to get a class because the state coordinator said I wasn't the target audience.
Well, you don't actually have to take the class to finish the task book and get certified.
You can get certified without the class?
Yeah, what the class does is sign some stuff off in your task book, but you could do that other ways.
Well, Sherman, that's not my understanding. You have to have. a class.
Well, maybe. Okay, what Walt told me is he's thinking of, here's the problem, and I just sort of figured this out in the last year or so. Joey lost control of WebEOC. And that's the reason they yanked all our WebEOC accounts. Is or whoever the powers that be took them all out. And he just recently got control back. So Gooseman, what's his first name? Mark Gooseman? Was managing it. Now, Mark, I hear, just got promoted or transferred. So now it may be up in the air again. But Joey had control, and he started handing out a few WebEOC accounts to people he knew had used it before and were trained in it and can make it work. Okay, so you, me, Walt. I assume Peter has one. I also, was it you, Lee, or was it Walt that told me? Someone told me that he's thinking of starting a very restricted class for training, WebEOC training. And he was going to be very selective in the people he allowed into the class. So I don't know what that means.
The new WebEOC is Andrew Russo.
What is it?
Andrew Rousseau. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name.
Is that the new guy took Mark's place?
Yes, he's the guy that took over.
But I understand we're not supposed to be contacting that person directly.
No, we're supposed to go
So
to
it doesn't matter.
We're supposed to go to Joey.
Yeah, we're supposed to go to Joey, not that person.
Okay. But I think Joey's concerned about whether he's going to maintain the ability to issue accounts.
Yeah.
I think that's what it was.
So on Oxcom, unfortunately, I had to travel to go take that class.
You guys hold on for 1 second. Can you tell me if the Zoom meeting is still up?
Yeah, Zoom meeting's still up.
It's still here.
Yeah, I had to travel, unfortunately, in order to get the Oxcom class that I've been waiting for 3 years and getting bumped from. But it happened, I did it.
I did it, same thing. I went down and took classes at Corpus Christi. I took class up in Dallas Fort Worth. There was an octopus for
I
other
went to
stuff. but-
Thackerville. Yeah, I had to go to Thackerville.
Yeah, I had to go all over the place too. I hear you.
I went to College Station and took COML classes.
I'm gonna talk to Joey if I can ever get hold of him for long enough to do it. I haven't figured out his schedule. Does he come down here every day, Lee? You know more about than I do.
No,
Anyway, I want to
I'll be here
talk.
tomorrow, 24 hours, between noon and noon.
That's
I'll probably
right.
be here at 6 in the morning.
When's tomorrow? Tuesday? I can probably do that. I'll try to get a hold of him and see what's going on as far as web VOC training.
I'm probably gonna be here at some point, because I want to get some, one of my test books I want to get, it's the cyber stuff, it has nothing to do with radio. So I'll probably be here at least one shift, and I'll try to.
Well, I'm gonna try to get hold of him too and find out what's going on. It sounds like what we need to do is maybe between the four of us right now, maybe designate or rotate a contact point for incidents. You know, I thought I had done that by designating him ADEC or not ADEC, but
DC.
DC, temporary DEC while I was out of town.
But I think Joey was thinking Aries, not Oxcom, right? So,
Well, yeah, because I didn't use DEC.
Yeah.
I didn't use Oxcom.
Yeah.
But we can still do the same thing. We just throw Oxcom in there.
yeah, I don't see why we couldn't. That's why I was
We
thinking.
just agree amongst ourselves, depending on the circumstances, who wants to be the person, and we let Joey know. What do you think?
I think we need to talk to Joe.
Yeah, I'm not sure. The question I asked him on the phone is, how do you want to handle activations? And the only thing I got out of him is, I don't want to make more than one. He said call, but I don't think he meant call, contact,
But what
whatever.
do we do with comms down? When, we don't have them, right? So.
Well, my personal is, as DEC, if I have to have a situation developing, as soon as my home situation's stable, I come down here. That puts me down the hall from Joey. And it gives me access to all the equipment. And hopefully I can get a hold of people through cell phone or whatever.
Well, not all of us have access to TranStar.
Hmm?
And not all of us have access to TranStar.
Well, that's another issue we're gonna talk to Joey about. But usually if they got an incident going, they come down there and they'll come down and get you. I've done that before I got a badge. I used to come down here and say, hey, I'm down in the lobby, send somebody to get me. And they'll come down and get you, run you upstairs and get you a temporary badge and go. So don't let that hold you up. Just to let them know you're coming, and if you can, and that you need someone to come get you. Or if I'm up there, you got a badge now, Lee?
I do, but it doesn't open this door.
Well, that
Oh, and it
door-
doesn't open the radio.
Really?
They coded it wrong. I get it to the EOC.
you need to talk to what's his face down here on the first floor and get him to add the radio.
I'll deal with that.
And I know Peter's got
I
a
knew you'd be
badge.
here, so I wasn't worried about.
I think does Walt have a badge?
Sapaniak?
Yeah,
Yes, I believe he does.
He does.
yeah.
Yeah, well,
So you're the only one. Well, we'll work.
okay.
And
But the point is, that don't let that keep you from coming down.
At the same time, don't want to self-deploy.
Hmm?
At the same time, I don't want to self-deploy.
Well, if communications are down, you know, in my situation, if I had been home, I would have maybe, like you said, had radio for about 4 hours, then I would have had to probably come down here. Or else get a generator going and get it hooked up.
Oh,
So let's go on. George has got something he wants to present. Go ahead, George.
Is Joey still leaving very soon?
In the last I heard, his retirement's officially, his time is up this summer, but he was thinking it'd be the end of the year, the last I heard. That could change. That could change.
Well, I was wondering if he had named a replacement person, and are we starting to coordinate for that placement?
I don't know, but I expressed my concern that his replacement would support amateur radio supporting them. And he assured me that would be the case, so we'll see. What do you know that you're not talking? I mean, that's what he told me, face to face. That technically his time is up this summer, but he'd probably be here.
June 1st.
Yeah. he'd
That
be
was his
here-
last day.
That's his last day?
That was his last day.
Yeah, well, I heard it'd be the end of the year, the last time I talked to him, so.
A lot of people are shifting around. Brett is back. from the fire marshal's office. Fred
Really?
Shryock. He was here, he was Joey's number one.
Yeah.
Well, Peter under Joey. He went to the fire marshal's office last year,
Yeah,
just left the fire marshal's office, now he's back working for Marcelone again. As Joey's number two.
Really?
I guess, guess who's gonna be the new logistics chief, I bet you.
We'll find out. It's gonna be an interesting year.
Yeah, maybe Brett will be.
Yeah. George, let's go ahead and let George do his thing.
All right,
This went longer than I expected, sorry.
couple of things I'll just share with you. One is the DFW Hamfest occurred last weekend.
Talk to the iPhone.
Talk to the iPhone, okay,
You don't
hello.
have to talk directly into it, just.
Just stand somewhere in front of it.
Somewhere, is this close enough? Is this in
Yeah,
front?
you can hear.
Okay, now, is this what they're seeing on the Zoom?
No, look at the big
That's what
screen.
they're looking at right now.
Okay, very good. Well, the DFW Hamfest occurred last weekend. And I got a note, I stumbled across it on the internet. And I said, oh, hey, look at this Hamfest up there. And they talked about trying to reactivate the Irving Hamfest that they used to have. And so it sounded really good. And they said, well, this one's going to be bigger than it was last year. Okay, great, fine. So I made arrangements to go up there. And they said we're going to be in this Vista shopping mall. I said, what? How are you going to put a Hamfest in a shopping mall? You go up tables up and down the hallways with people going by. How are you going to sell tickets for that? And so I'm kind of curious about how in the world they're going to do this. And if you want to just flip through the slides, that's fine. So I get there and I come to find out how they did it. It's really amazing. What you do is you take a beautiful shopping mall, two-story event, shopping mall, beautiful place, and you take away all the tenants and leave a totally empty building. And that's how they did the Hamfest. They just put the Hamfest in some of the storage fronts, the stores that were there. And the stores still had the tenant's old name on it.
Just because,
But,
I mean,
That's what we were doing. The pictures you're
We gotta
seeing,
get off.
two rooms, two stores in that shopping mall that they had set up. And unfortunately, one of the rooms had no air conditioning, zero. And it was 80 some odd degrees in there and it was miserable. The other one was very cool. And then overnight, they fixed that one room, sort of, kind of. The first day they had this little bitty fan at the front door and that wasn't doing anything. But the next day I came back and they had 3 industrial fans running and that kept the room tolerable. It was still 70 plus in there, but it was much better than it was the first day. So anyway, I paid my $5 to go in, which by the way, got me 2 full days of Hamfesting, kind of neat. And so we just wandered around, had a good time, picked up a lot of stuff. And I even picked up some grab bag stuff, which had in it these surface mount components, resistors and capacitors. Anybody need these? I give them to you free.
I hate surface mount. I handshake too much.
Surface mount?
Service mount.
Yeah, resistors, capacitors.
Oh, no, I've got a whole toolbox full.
Somebody please take this. Okay. Well, all right. So that was the Hamfest. I thought it was okay. They had HRO as the primary major vendor in there, but they had a lot of good stuff. Some good used equipment. They had a lot of junk, and you just have to sort of wade through it like any Hamfest. But they were situated right there with the food court, and the food court was half empty. Most of those vendors had already left, but they still had 2 or 3 places open.
Which mall was this again?
The Vista Mall in Louisville, Texas. Louisville is kind of a suburb like Pasadena is to us. So beautiful mall, 2-story thing spread out over everywhere.
Yeah,
Big place.
How was the
And,
turnout, George? Do you compare it to the Rosenberg Hamfest every year? How big was it, bigger or smaller?
I would say it's just a touch smaller, really. the Rosenberg, the square footage might have been close to what these two rooms were, and maybe bigger. But these guys just took over somebody's store, and it was a good sized room. It wasn't a real small room. Both of them were good sized rooms. And so anyway, it seemed to work out okay. I had a good time. But anyway, so one other thing I wanted to share with you right quick was just recently I sent off and got myself a telegraph key from Amazon.
Stand in front of the iPad so everybody else can see it.
Ah, okay. Little.
No, don't worry.
Okay.
It's easy, just fine.
Okay, so a little bitty telegraph key, and it's called a putikig. And you know it's Chinese because a Chinese person had a lot of fun with English. And what the name is Geek It Up spelled backwards. So somebody in China had a lot of fun. But this is a little telegraph key. I can pass it around, you can show it. The original knob, that was the original knob that I can barely hold it, that came with it. I bought this other knob to put on it because it gives me a much better feel. So this is the little bitty knob, original knob. It's too small for me, but if you want to take a look at that and pass it around, that'll be fine. Comes with a cord, connection cord that you plug into the back and then plug into your radio. I think it's pretty nice. It's got some pads on the bottom to keep it from slipping, and it's weighted enough that it's not going to move very easily.
Got good rubber feet on the bottom.
Yeah, so good for going out to the field with it. Okay, well that's really all I've got, unless somebody's got some questions. Okay.
Anyone else got anything to bring up? Shoot bullets at me or whatever? Jeff, are you still online? Hey, Jeff, are you still there? No, don't hear him. Nothing else? Okay, I imagine that we'll probably do a virtual meeting next month, July. And then August, we'll probably have a real meeting because that's probably about the time the hurricanes will get here.
Or have a real virtual one because.
I have requested Gail. Gail, just wave if you can hear me. Can you do me a favor, go into the chat window and take an inventory of everybody that attended on the Zoom channel and give it to the DEC when you see him? So he doesn't have to ask me to do it, since I can't do it on my phone, if you'd be kind enough to just write down 10.
I saved the chat.
You did?
You did?
Yeah.
Mail it to me.
Okay.
Just
One of us will get it. Thank
Yeah,
you.
I cannot see the chat.
And isn't there a C-track drill coming up?
So, yeah, I'm
Isn't
sorry.
there a C-track drill coming up?
That track,
That track, when is it? 25th?
it's the 25th, next Tuesday at 2:00 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
21st.
You guys ought to see the set track van. Next,
One from Town Station.
no, it makes the mop look like nothing.
The mop, isn't it?
Yeah, I know.
The Harris County's real.
It's a
emergency
dual axis semi with a 30 or 40-foot mast on the back and communications room, and radios, everything else. We've been helping Jason get it up and going. They're gonna use the set track van for this exercise. I'm not sure. I keep telling you, he needs to take it out to Bear Creek Park, but they don't want to spend the money on the fuel since it probably gets about 4 or 5 miles to the gallon.
We were trying to get the set track van to operate as the emergency coordination for the MS-150,
Really?
as the command post. Remember that? Mike Bartlett was trying to get in touch with Jason to get that done, but something, politics stopped it.
Well, also there was radio problems because I was out there helping them with it. Turns out I had a bad cable. We couldn't get.
One comment on the drill too, when you get a second, Sharon.
Say again?
I've got one comment on the drill when you get a second.
Okay, go ahead.
That track did something a little different this time. And they had a sign-up sheet that went out to all of the facilities that they service. So your facility got kind of a sign-up sheet that was not something that any of us need to worry about, but this is a new thing. So you may hear about it from your hospitals if you're there. So I just wanted to comment on that.
Hey, Gail, who was the radio group that wants you to make a presentation?
The Echo Society.
Echo Society is getting interested in the hospital net. Thought that was interesting. They've got a bunch of link repeaters, I believe. So we're trying to set that up to talk to them. Gail's trying to set that up. I can't take
Yeah,
credit.
it's set up. It's done. In terms of, yeah, it's on July the 8th is their July meeting, and it's at the Red Cross.
Okay, so are we gonna go down Saturday to talk to them about it?
Yes, we are. Yeah, so that I can understand from Martin if there's particular things that they're looking for in the presentation.
How many different hospitals have we in the net now? All together?
Well, I think
We got
not
4 list, I know.
20, probably 20 who call in from time to time. We get some that only call in for the set track drill and maybe just occasionally to check their equipment. So I think our maximum number has, I think I've got 20 registered, let me put it that way, or 20 in my notes.
Okay, good deal. Any questions?
Is that recording? I mean,